Over 2,000 healthcare workers across the island severely impacted by Hurricane Melissa. The Lepinas Funeral Home facing challenges following the passage of Hurricane Melissa. Telecoms provider Digicel has entered a partnership with the Jamaica North-South Highway Company to transition the network into operating with underground fiber optic cables. On the international scene, consider airspace around Venezuela closed, says Donald Trump. And in sport, Newcastle United head coach Eddie Howe enjoyed a 40th birthday to remember as his team defeated Everton in the English Premier League. The details after this.
If it's news, it's got to be Nationwide 90 FM.
Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says over 2,000 healthcare workers across the island were severely impacted by Hurricane Melissa. He says the information was recorded on the ministry's newly launched Healthcare Workers Welfare Support Form.
The form was deployed on November 16th. As of yesterday, some 2,619 entries have been made, 2,033 for females, 5,086 for males. These are persons who have come online and filled out the forms expressing their areas of damage and concern. The majority of staff affected range from 26 to 33 years. It should be noted that 518 individuals were not collected as communication remains a challenge across some of these areas. So given the access to communication channels, we are trying to address another approach to get that information.
The database is designed to collect preliminary information from the Human Resource Department across the ministry. It includes demographic information of staff members. It assesses the level of impact experienced and what that staff member needs. Minister Tufton outlined the number of healthcare workers affected in each region.
The Western Regional Health accounts for the majority of persons impacted by the hurricane, some 1,512, followed by Southern Region 579, and Northeast Region 328, and the Southeast Region 171. The Corporate Office and the National Council on Drug Abuse saw the least number of staff impacted, 15 and 14 respectively. So the affected staff span 54 facilities. Those are the highest count of affected staff are Cornwall Regional Hospital, St. Elizabeth Parish Health Department, Savlamar Hospital, St. James Parish Health Department, Noel Holmes Hospital, and Black River Hospital.
Dr. Christopher Tufton, Minister of Health. The ministry has committed to supporting workers by giving psychological, financial, environmental, and physical support. For psychological support, the ministry will be expanding access to mental health services, the development of coping skills, and the deployment of trauma-informed care. In the area of financial support, the ministry will be working alongside financial institutions for affected staff members to get financial resources to support recovery. Environmental support will see a series of cleanup sessions. As it relates to physical support, the ministry has provided care packages and temporary housing for affected workers. Meanwhile, there is no great risk of tourists catching leptospirosis despite the current outbreak of the disease. That's the word from Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Christopher Tufton.
While it's important to have the advisory and the extra precautions are to be taken, I think it's safe to say that in the areas where tourists would normally visit, stay, or be entertained, those areas would get particular attention based on the operators of the destinations, and health would have signed off. There's an approval process that is required for that. So, come to Jamaica, enjoy yourself despite the challenges. In fact, we need you now more than any other time, given the importance of just continuing business.
The Health Ministry declared a leptospirosis outbreak on November 16. There have been 14 confirmed deaths relating to the disease as at November 27. 10 of those fatalities were recorded after the passage of Hurricane Melissa. Dr. Tufton says the ministry will continue to work with all tourism interests to ensure that individuals visiting the island are safe.
The health authorities are working very closely with the tourism interests and other stakeholders, as well as agencies that are responsible for solid waste cleanup, Ministry of Local Government, National Water Commission, and the areas that are most at risk are the areas that have been flooded, where stagnant water is and where persons, Jamaicans, are cleaning up and are commingling with the debris from the hurricane. So the level of risk is highest in those circumstances. The hotels and the attractions we work closely with, the health authorities, they have done their own cleanup or are doing their own cleanup to the extent that those facilities are open for business.
Dr. Christopher Tufton, Health and Wellness Minister, he was speaking at a press conference on Thursday. Managing Director of Delapena's Funeral Home in Montego Bay and Kingston, Dale Delapena, says the unique nature of his business posed serious issues during and after the passage of Hurricane Melissa.
I personally believe, having gone through a Category 5 hurricane, that it is impossible to be totally prepared for the devastation that was to come. However, being a business that has operated through many crises, COVID included, we had our preparation game tightened for the arrival of this storm. We are in a unique position in that we cannot close, we cannot send employees home. As an essential service, we have to operate 24/7.
Delapena says visiting a cemetery owned by the funeral home was next to impossible for days. He says even during the hurricane, there were calls to collect bodies.
We had building damage and other damage that made it difficult to access our locations. We also were getting calls right through the storm. So we got a removal call to pick up a loved one at 2 o'clock during the storm. The police unit actually came to our facility for us to follow them. And I must say I'm very proud of the team members that I lead, because no one batted an eye and everybody was willing and able and anxious to go and take care of that loved one.
Dale Delapena, Managing Director of Delapena's Funeral Home in Montego Bay and Kingston. Meanwhile, Mr. Delapena says the recovery process has been extremely challenging to locate and tend to decomposed bodies after the hurricane.
It has been extremely challenging because I would say the 3 days after the hurricane were probably our 3 most intense days of operation. We had to go and remove a lot of victims of the storm. We had zero communication. Another challenge we face is with our supplies. Though we were prepared, we find, without being too gruesome, we find that we've had a lot of cases that are experiencing decomposition because of the long time before they could be rescued. So that puts strain on our supplies.
Dale Delapena, Managing Director of Delapena's Funeral Home in Montego Bay and Kingston. Owner of popular entertainment hotspot Pier 1 in Montego Bay, Jason Russell, says the most important factor for recovery is his staff. He was speaking with our nationwide news team on Friday.
We've been destroyed a couple of times. I wouldn't say it happens often, but we've gone through a fair share of total annihilation. And there's one message I always say, and it don't change. Whether, no matter what the destruction is, whether it's COVID, whether it's burial, whether a big hurricane back in the day, I think it was Michelle that destroyed Pier 1. The message is always the same. I am resilient because I'm a staff. We can always run to the hardware store and buy lumber. We can always go up the road and buy wire and bulbs and fix the road, but we can't just run out and buy Pier 1 stuff. I think if most companies invest in them staff, they'll find that resilience is actually a lot easier.
Mr. Russell says several efforts have been made to assist his staff with post-Hurricane Melissa.
In all, we have about 160 people that actually work for Pier 1. It's quite a bit, and we have some that still haven't been to work and been able to come to work, whether by bad roads or just has been totally wiped out. So what we've done is we've kind of graded the damage. Staff that was ready to come to work, we say, okay, let's go, let's open the place. And now we're in the process of rebuilding their lives. Fortunate thing about Pier 1 is that staff is also catered to. I rely on the staff and staff rely on the business. So they are now in the stage of saying, Pier 1, I need a roof. Pier 1, my house gone. Pier 1, I need, clothes. Can anybody push out in the community and, get me some clean clothes? And that's where we're sieving through now.
That's Jason Russell, owner of food and entertainment venue Pier 1 in Montego Bay. Telecoms provider Digicel has entered a partnership with the Jamaica North-South Highway Company to transition the network into operating with underground fiber optic cables. The underground duct sharing agreement comes in the wake of Hurricane Melissa, which caused widespread disruption to above-ground network assets across the island. Digicel says under the agreement, it will be able to install and protect its fiber routes faster and with reduced environmental impact. Stephen Murad is the Chief Executive Officer at Digicel.
I'm really pleased to announce a huge milestone in an amazing partnership that we now have with the Jamaica North-South Highway. We've just literally signed an agreement, hot off the press, that we're going to be using the duct infrastructure to bring our fibre all the way from our data centre at Camanus to the end of the highway. Why is that important? Well, everybody would know what happened during Hurricane Melissa and the importance of building more resilient networks, and this is a huge step forward in doing so. So our fibre backbone will start to be brought underground and give us some resiliency, as we know climate change is here upon us.
Stephen Murad, CEO of Digicel. Digicel will commence phased construction immediately, prioritizing high-demand corridors and vulnerable network routes. The Ministry of Labour and Social Security, MLSS, is warning Jamaicans to be on high alert following the discovery of a fraudulent TikTok account using videos of Labour Minister Pernell Charles Jr. on scam job seekers. According to the ministry, the account, which operates under the handle at Mr.Agent.Clark, has been repurposing videos taken from the social media pages of both Minister Charles Jr. and MLSS. The account falsely claims it is authorized to provide overseas employment opportunities, misleading members of the public, particularly those seeking work abroad. The ministry says it has received reports that the individual behind the account has been circulating deceptive advertisements in an attempt to prey on unsuspecting Jamaicans. It notes that the activity is not only unethical but also illegal. The MLSS is reminding the public that the operator of the TikTok account is not listed among the ministry's licensed overseas employment agencies. It further emphasizes that the ministry is the sole authority responsible for recruiting farm workers for the overseas farm work programs in Canada. A list of all entities licensed to offer overseas employment opportunities is published monthly on the ministry's official website and social media platforms. Members of the public are urged to exercise extreme caution and verify the legitimacy of any overseas job offer by checking the ministry's official listings or by contacting the ministry directly. Investigators assigned to the St. Andrews Central Police Division are reporting that they have charged an office clerk of Mandela Terrace, Kingston 11 with larceny as a servant following an incident at a business establishment on Hagley Park Road in the parish on Wednesday, November 19. Charged is 32-year-old Sasha Gay Stewart. According to reports, a customer made a purchase at the establishment on Monday, November 10, but later returned and requested a refund. The customer was referred to the supervisor, who, upon conducting inquiries, discovered that the item had already been refunded and $10,000 was missing from the company's account. The matter was brought to the director's attention, and additional checks, including a review of CCTV footage, confirmed Stewart was a designated cashier on duty at the time the refund was processed. A report was made to the police, and Stewart was subsequently apprehended and charged. Her court date is being finalized. To news now on the international scene, U.S. President Donald Trump has said that the airspace around Venezuela should be considered closed. To all airlines, pilots, drug dealers, and human traffickers, please consider the airspace above and surrounding Venezuela to be closed in its entirety, Trump said in a social media post. The U.S. does not legally have the authority to close another country's airspace, but Trump's post could lead to travel uncertainty and deter airlines from operating there. The U.S. has been building its military presence in the Caribbean, which officials say is to combat drug smuggling. Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro has dismissed U.S. claims of drug trafficking as an attempt to oust him. Torrential rains have triggered floods and landslides across parts of southern Asia, killing about 600 people. Monsoon rain exacerbated by tropical storms caused some of the region's worst flooding in years, with millions affected in Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, and Sri Lanka. Let's now turn to sport. Well, Newcastle United head coach Eddie Howe enjoyed a 40th birthday to remember as his side ended their long wait for an away win in style against Everton. The travel-sick visitors had failed to win on the road in the Premier League since April. But aggressive Newcastle started as they meant to go on the Hill Dickinson Stadium by scoring the quickest goal of the season so far in the top flight. The final score in that match, Everton 1, Newcastle 4. And now for a recap of the top stories making the news at this hour. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says over 2,000 healthcare workers across the island were severely impacted by Hurricane Melissa. Delapenas Funeral Home facing challenges in the aftermath of Hurricane Melissa. Telecoms provider Digicel has entered a partnership with the Jamaica North-South Highway Company to transition the network into operating with underground optic cables. You can find the news on our website at nationwideradiojm.com and on the Nationwide app available on Google Play and the App Store. News is next at 5 tomorrow afternoon. Good afternoon.